This is the story of the super force of space explorers.
The Blood Witch, a dark high fantasy novel by renowned author Dr. Adega Outlaw. Get your copy of The Blood Witch, which is on sale now on Kindle and Amazon.com, or just click the link in the description of this video. Good morning, greetings one and all, and welcome to Mornings of Mischief. I'm your host, Stone Loki. Good morning, everybody, and a big good morning to my co-host this morning, Dave Bob. How are you doing, brother?
Doing good. How's everybody out in Valhalla?
I think they're doing well because it's Friday. Yeah. Joe back, TJC. Ow, ow, ow. A whole bunch of turtles. Thank you so very much, brother, for being here. Big shout out this morning to me and Dave Bob's favorite bunny on YouTube, Gun Bunny, because Bunny had a gun.
Bunny's got a gun.
22 years with Shockwave. Congratulations, 22 years. They got married today, 22 years ago. Congratulations, Gun Bunny and Shockwave. We couldn't be happier for you guys. Happy anniversary. I hope you guys have a absolute blast today. I hope you guys have a great one today. I go pick my Henry axe up from our local gun dealer since it has returned from being repaired.
What's the caliber?
Bunny's got a gun. Congratulations, guys. Congratulations. 22 years is no small feat, especially with pistols and rifles around the house. It's a rarity. How long have you been married, Dave Bob?
42 years. It'll be 43 in February.
That is amazing. Absolutely amazing. A shockwave destroyed the Enterprise. But good morning, guys. 20 gauge.
Cool.
20 gauge. Nice. Man Squatch says 43 years. Grats, Dave Bob, and Gun Bunny. So, craziness is ensuing. But before we get to the craziness, let me say good morning to everybody out there. I hope you guys are doing great. It's Friday. The weekend's coming. We're going to have a great show tonight. But before we get to that, we're going to have a great show this morning. And I want to say good morning. Snorter my favorite polar bear on YouTube, says, I was married for a century one year. Yeah, you can feel that way. I can totally. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. Snorts. Favorite polar bear on YouTube, guys. Snorter Scuba. Good morning to Chris, Persia, Mark the Infinitely Tired, and Project Storytime. The wrenches of Ragnarok are here. The Bash Brothers themselves. Good morning, gentlemen. I hope you guys are doing well. Moons of Madness, what is going on? Good morning. Good morning, Soul Assassin. How are you doing? Psychodorf 9 says Loki, Glock or 1911? 1911. 1911 always wins.
Yep. Good old steel.
So, a Adega Outlaw, the Mad Doctor of Disaster and Destruction. Good morning, Adega Outlaw. And he has his own emoji now, ladies and gentlemen. The hand, talk to the hand emoji is there. That is Adega's. I'm going to do a little cleanup work on it and make it a little bigger, but it is there so you can use it. Good morning, Captain Fandom Nerd. How are you doing? It's good to see you here. Good to see you, Andy Masterson. Hail Valhalla. Hail to you, Andy Masterson. Apollome's Minion. Good morning, Apollomy. How are you doing? It is so good to see you, Apollomy. I can't wait to hang out with you again in October. It's going to be so badass. MB Geek, let's talk. Good morning, MB Geek. Good morning, brother. $5 super chat says She-Hulk was sad pilot. Sad as the actress was great in Orphan Black and is too good for this crap. The MCU powerhouse, in my opinion, is Oba. Well, yep. I've been saying that.
We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, I've been saying that for a while now. That, yeah, it's been over. It's been over. What they did with WandaVision, a lot of the stuff they've done ever since Endgame, it's just been cringy and crap. So,
well, it was even cringy at the end-to-end game.
Yeah.
Go power.
So it looks like stars in the night sky. Good.
So, what are we going to talk
Sound,
about?
Good morning. Just finishing up saying Joker voice. Good morning. We're going to talk about Lord of the Rings this morning.
Oh, okay.
Project Cambrian. Good morning. So there is a group, Thunderduck. Good morning, Man Squatch. What is up? There's a scene where they dress her up and she looks like Ezra Miller. Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine. I see. I don't want my head to explode, and I do not want to fall into a bathtub of bullet bourbon at the end of the day. So I don't watch that shit. I just don't.
I really enjoyed the comic back in the 80s, but and I did watch it last night, but boy, was that a mistake.
That bad. I've heard from some people they actually enjoyed it.
Well, I guess if you want to see man bashing and, the best is ever, you can just go to it.
So let's get to it. Sword Poop Cuber asked, so what's the news with Lard of the Wangs? Okay, so this is separate from the Amazon deal. I'm gonna share this with you guys, and we'll just go beat by beat off of this. Normally I would not use Kotaku because I absolutely dislike.
Well, they come out with this article. I mean, they actually did this at 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, our time, wasn't it?
Yeah. And this was yesterday at 1 a.m. 1:16 a.m. by Luke Plunkett. You remember Plinko? I remember Plinko. That's what this name reminds me of. Remember Plinko? Plinko!
Yeah.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. That's what Amazon's Lord of the Rings is going to end with. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Have your pets spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody. The Embracer Group, this is from, like I said, Luke Plinkett over at Kotaku. The Embracer Group are slowly buying any and every video game publisher and studio on the market. Just announced that they have purchased Middle-earth Enterprises, the company that owns the big and small screen rights to most of J.R.R. Tolkien's most important works, including Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Now, this doesn't just include big and small screen rights. This is board games. This is TV. Does this affect Amazon in any way? No.
Nope.
And
we're gonna. I don't think it affects anybody that has gone before, even with the Lord of the Rings movies and whatnot with Warner. We'll have to see about that.
And Soul Assassin's right. Embracer Group caught us all by surprise the other day. Not just with this, they bought some heavy hitting property from Square Enix as well. Tomb Raider, they now own Tomb Raider. They own the Legacy of Kain series. They own Deus Ex, which are just a few of the games they now own from Square Enix.
Yeah,
those are some of the really good ones.
The group that sold them, the folks that sold them, were shopping that thing around back in February for about $2 billion. I wonder how much they actually paid for it.
Now, the Amazon deal was worked out differently, and it's its own entity. What I'm curious about, what I'm really, really curious about here, guys, is can they do an extension on the contract and go more than 5 years now that the rights have been sold, and it's a different deal. Can they extend it beyond 5 years? Would they want to extend it more than 5 years? And what happens if they don't fulfill their obligation of 5 years at $1 billion a season? You heard that right.
I think $1 billion was more for production costs than for the actual cost, wasn't it?
Part of it. A lot of this has to do with waste. Amazon is wasting money. Amazon is throwing money down the toilet. You could do a movie. You could do a Peter Jackson style movie and spend a quarter of that. How do I know that that's possible? Because Peter Jackson did it and did it for less.
Sounds like Bezos needs to throw that money at his rocket, not at these movies and TV shows.
And that's a big question. Why has all of this transferred over like this? And I understand that some of that is startup cost, project story time, but that's not the way it worked with New Line and Warner Brothers with the original Fellowship of the Ring. Yes, were they dedicated to making 3 movies? Yeah, but the first movie didn't have all that production and startup. Each movie was its own entity. So it's not like the first movie took a huge budget hit. Something similar happened with Superman, the original Superman. Now, I won't get too far off topic here, but the original Superman with Christopher Reeves was one of the most expensive movies at that time. And it was because they essentially filmed 2 movies at the same time. So a lot of the filming for Superman 2 with Zod and all of them, that was being done while they were filming the first movie. And a lot of the costs got swept up in that first movie. They didn't do that with Lord of the Rings. They didn't do that with The Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King. And Chris Persia right here brings up a very interesting point. It's starting to sound more and more like Bezos needed a capital loss to claim as a deduction.
It's a hell of a way to get a deduction.
And this is the beautiful part of this, ladies and gentlemen. He didn't make, Moons of Madness brings up this wonderful point. He didn't make a Lord of the Rings investment. He made a television show investment. That's all he can do. He cannot come out with merch. He doesn't have the ability to do Lord of the Rings merch. He does not have the ability to do Rings of Power video games. He does not have the ability to do any of that. All he can do is the series. The more I look at this, the more I realize this was a monumentally flawed deal on Amazon's part. They don't have the ability to come out with a whole bunch of merch for this. They don't have the ability to come out with video games, board games, all this. All those rights are now held by the Embracer Group.
And what's even funnier is they're taking it up the arse right now for their, for the production. Everybody is dinging them for it, man. Nobody likes this crap.
So what is the point of this? What is the point? Tell me what the point of this is. Really? You're going to do a $1 billion a season show that they can't do merch. They can't do merch. They can't do video games. They can't do board games. They can't do any of that.
Nope.
They got in on a loophole, and we're going to get to that this morning. They got in on a loophole. Project Storytime. They can't do any of this stuff that you would think would be coming. Oh my God, they're coming out with Lord of the Rings series. They're going to have this and they're going to have that. And it's going to be this and it's going to be that. And we're going to have video games.
All they got is just some notes. All they're doing is just really making this thing off of some notes between books, aren't they?
That's right. And Soul Assassin Loki, would you really want a Cheeto-covered Galadriel? No, I do not want a Cheeto-covered Galadriel video game. No, I don't. But I'm saying they don't even have the option to do that. This is a monumental failure on Amazon's part. I don't think people realize just how big of a failure this is going to be. All they have is the show. Are they banking on this show bringing in $1 billion worth of prime viewership each and every month? Because that's all they have. That is all they have. So not only have they paid to have the ability to do this, but they are blowing money hand over fist. They are blowing through money to make something that is not going to be timeless. I understand the idea that, well, we're making Lord of the Rings. Everybody's excited about Lord of the Rings. Everybody wants more Lord of the Rings. When Return of the King swept the award shows and everybody was going nuts and everybody was having a good time, all except for Jack Nicholson, who was out in the lobby going, "It's got too many endings. I just don't get it. It's got too many endings." Everybody was loving it. When The Hobbit came out, it was a different story.
I don't think anybody's loving this at all. I haven't, other than the shills and the ones that, have some kind of a hand in it. They're the only ones that are really giving this thing any kind of, traction.
And I'll say this. One of the reasons why the Lord of the Rings IP under New Line and Warner Brothers was such a huge deal is because you had board games. And I'm not talking about one board game. I had a Life board game. I had a Risk board game. I had Lord of the Rings Monopoly. It was like everything. This was Star Wars. You had action figures. You had board games. You had video games. There was a slew of video games that used footage from the movies in the video games. Those were absolutely killer. I love those on Xbox. You had the Third Age game. I've got 2 copies of that in plastic sitting right next to me that have never been opened. Multiple Lord of the Rings video games. All kinds of media, clothing, board games, video games, everything you could imagine of Lord of the Rings, you got. And it was all with New Line, Warner Brothers, and then something happened. Something happened, and suddenly it all stopped. And you only had a little bit here and there. Video game wise, they came out with multiple Lego games. You had the EA games, but they came out with multiple Lego games. They had strategy games, but then with The Hobbit, it just stopped. You didn't even get the end of the Lego games. It just stopped. You didn't get the third movie as far as the Lego games went. You got the first two, and that's it. And that's all you got. That's all you're going to get. Why? Does this deal, do these deals have something to do with it? I doubt it because it happened so long ago. But something happened, and they said, no, you can't make any more. From my understanding, the only reason why the war games, the Mordor, God, what was it? Because I've got them both. Like the Lord of the Rings, the Mordor and War, both of those games, they could not, Middle-earth, Shadow of War, Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor. Thank you. Thank you, Soul Assassin. Thank you, guys. The only reason those games were able to be made is because they did not mention anyone in The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings. They didn't mention any main characters. Celebrimbor was an exception. They didn't mention any main characters besides Sauron. But I'm talking like, Aragorn or Legolas or Gandalf or any of those people. Didn't mention any of them. So it was okay. They were able to work around that from the way they made it. But again, those weren't as popular. Why? Because you didn't have Aragorn or Legolas or Gimli or someone that you knew and loved as the main character. And that's what people wanted. Those games were okay. Everything else, just Anyway, we get back to the article. Let's see. Some background, and please bear with me. This is complicated. Middle-earth Enterprises used to be a division of the Saul Zaentz Company, a Hollywood production studio that in 1976 picked up the rights to pretty much everything to do with Tolkien except the publication of the books themselves. Those rights were used to make the 1978 animated feature, and ever since have only been licensed out to other companies. Okay, so what that means is Middle-earth Enterprises owned all of it, except for the books. And they would license out stuff just like Marvel used to license out their characters and sell their IP. Okay, so back in the day, Marvel would license out, okay, well, we're going to let these people work with the Hulk, and we're going to let these people do Thor, and we're going to let these people do the X-Men, which was Fox, and we're going to let these people do, and they didn't do their own.
Spider-Man, yeah.
Yes, they didn't do their own stuff in-house. So it all went out to other companies. This is exactly the same kind of thing. They never sold the rights to the company, to the IPs. So no one could get like, oh, well, we've got the board game rights forever. Oh, well, we've got the video game rights. So everything from Peter Jackson's films to EA's video games, which we were just talking about, they were expensively licensed out as Lord of the Rings. So Amazon's upcoming TV series relied on a loophole that excluded a TV series of more than 8 episodes being included within Zaentz rights. So Amazon got a back door into the rights.
He said back door.
And that's why they've been able to do the series they've been able to do. But that's it. That's all they can do is that series. What good does this do Amazon? To me, it doesn't do them any good. The series is going to be trash. How do you know that, Loki? How do you know the series is going to be trash? Because I've seen.
We've seen the trailers.
We've seen what's going on. We've seen how they're pushing it. Now you could be right. You could be like, well, Loki, they're pushing all this woke agenda, but then we watch it and it's not so bad. I've seen the Young and the Restless type intro. I've seen the screenshots of the cast huddled together. I've listened to that moronic twat that plays Gladriel saying, fuck any critics that have anything bad to say. No, sweetheart. No. Go back to whatever you do for your day job, because this is not going to make you a star. Acting like a total fucking twat to everybody that has any kind of criticism towards this show isn't going to work out well. I'm sorry. It's just going to make people dislike you more than they already dislike you.
The thing about it is that's pretty much all the actors go to now. You know, if you don't like it, you know, they attack.
And no, man, Squatch, that intro is legit. I don't know if that's going to be the official intro for the show, but that's the intro they used at Comic-Con. So, yeah, good luck with that. You know, I've told this story before, but I love telling it, so you get to hear it. You get to hear it again. Going and seeing the Hobbit films in theaters. At the end of the second movie, when Smaug is flying towards Lake Town, and I am fire, I am death. I was so excited. And then Bilbo said, dear God, what have we done? And my stomach sunk. Because I knew that these shoddy bastards were about to fade to black. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, you better not do it. You better not do it. And they did it. And I got up out of my seat in a theater full of people and called them sons of bitches, flipped off the screen. I was pissed. You do not end it there. You've got the entire battle of the 5 armies coming up. You have no idea how much
cheated. Loki was cheated.
I was pissed. You do not need the Battle of Lake Town and the Battle of 5 armies in the same. No. This is cheap ass shit. Oh, we've got to go back and see the dragon. No, give us the dragon. Have Smaug falling towards the lake, and then cut to black. And oh, misty high on the mountain below, and end it there. End it there. Give us an end there, and we're happy. I would pay money to see that again before I would pay money to see this shit. I would pay money. I just got the 4K set the other day, the massive 4K set. I've already got the Blu-ray bookend sets. I've got the DVD sets. I was Cheetoed. Yes, Chris Persia. I was Cheetoed. They Cheetoed me, the bastards. Dag Outlaw. I would give my right arm to go to a movie with Loki just to see him pissed at the screen. That was a exception. That's only, I think I've only done that twice ever in a movie. Gotten that pissed.
I got up in the middle of The Last Jedi screaming after the Holdo maneuvered, just said bullshit and walked out. My wife was so embarrassed and pissed at me.
So, Darlene, good morning. She says, I'm driving to my customers. Well, good morning. Have a safe drive. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the morning show. That's kind of why we're here. Dean Krantz, I still hate the Hobbit movies. Sandworms to dig tunnels, really? That was so bad. Some of it I love, okay? So I have a love-hate relationship with the second 2 movies. The first movie, I loved the first movie. I thought the first movie was great. I thought they did a great job. I thought it was absolutely positively wonderful. It's the 2 second movies. I am a firm believer they should have done 2. That's what we were originally promised. We were originally promised 2 movies. We got 3. I think they should have done 2 movies. I really do.
Well, I'll have to admit I haven't watched The Hobbit yet. I just recently, not too long ago, watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Dean Krantz, don't get me started on the dwarf elf romance. Tragic romance, Dean Krantz. It's the tragic romance. So she's not allowed to have care for a dwarf, and all of his buddies think he's an idiot for being attracted to her. It's a classic tragic romance. So. Does that include the hand Adega? I hope you guys are loving the Adega.
Talk to the hand
Emoji. So, let's get back to this. So, everything from the video games to board games, everything except the books. Everything's theme parks, stage productions, motion pictures, everything. Saul Zaentz Company floated the sale. This is a big thing here. They wanted $2 billion. $2 billion. Now, let's just, I want to get something out of the way here. Lord of the Rings has sold more books than the Bible. That is insanity. They've sold more copies of The Lord of the Rings than the Bible. They're not going to get $2 billion for the sale. Lucasfilm got what, 4.5 from Disney? 4.5 billion?
4.1,
something like that.
Something
like that. Around $4 billion for Star Wars. This company has sold more books than the Bible, and they accepted $770 million.
Wow. I didn't know it was that low.
$770 million. Now, let me ask you a question. Amazon is spending billions of dollars on Lord of the Rings series. All they had to do was buy these rights. Amazon is going head-to-head, woke-to-woke, peen-to-peen against Disney and other companies in the streaming wars. Disney owns the rights to Star Wars. Why didn't Amazon purchase the rights to everything and just do it that way? They have had more backroom bullshit go on because they can't use the books, they can only use the appendices, all this shit that's going on with wangs of power. And all they had to do was buy the rights. Amazon can afford this. Bezos can afford this. He'd own the rights to the board games, to the video games, all of it. He could dish it out as he sees fit, just like Zaentz did, just like Saul Zaentz did. They could have licensed it out and let people make shit for him. So why in the hell does the Embracer Group now own this? No one's asking that question. No one's asking why Amazon didn't just pick it up. Why they're using this back workaround, behind the back deal to do a series they can't even make merch for. Keith, Movie Geek, I will... Give me just a second, brother. I'll throw you a link. And if you know, by all means, come up here and let us know.
Well, I sure as hell don't.
If you
If
have
they
time.
got the money, it's not like, they're short of funds.
Sent you DM, brother. Cost of the Bezos divorce and keeping Washington Post afloat.
That's chump change, other than the divorce.
Whammons of power. Yes, whammons of power. I said wangs, but yeah. Maybe it's a woman wang. We got those today, apparently.
Peen to peen.
Okay, so note that by purchasing Middle Earth Enterprises itself, Embracer doesn't necessarily need to go cancel or reassign any existing Lord of the Rings rights agreements. Warner Brothers has held the motion picture license since the 1990s. That's how Peter Jackson's trilogy was made, and the upcoming anime, which is the Rohirrim anime, if I'm not mistaken, is clearly unaffected since it's specifically highlighted in Embracer's announcement. Lost money. They stole some. State-run interference. That is possible. That is very possible that it was a state-run interference. Well, Galadriel, Guy Ladriel, Moons of Madness. Well, Guy Ladriel. I was like, Galadriel. Guy Ladriel is manspreading on that ad. So there's a confusion there.
Yep.
It's because women are not allowed to act like women anymore.
Yeah.
Do you know that there was
her legs that she needs to manspread?
I was looking at a follow-up to the Terminator story we ran a couple of weeks ago about the director of Dark Fate, and did you know that when he said the woman that played the female Terminator, he was like, I can't wait for you guys to see her. She's beautiful, she's sexy, but she's strong, blah 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 blah. There was studio interference with how she looked in the film. They had to make her more of a man. They had to make her man-like. And I'm like, why? Why?
Well, she was in that TV show about the guys that made some of the first clone computers. I can't remember what the name of it was, but she was in that. That was the first thing I saw her in.
Good morning, Keith. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm all right. I know this is a confusing morning, but there's been a lot of back and forth over the years with Lord of the Rings and rights to all kinds of things, starting with the first film to ever attempt to get the rights back in the 1950s, that Tolkien himself wrote this incredible detailed letter, very nice, but basically, in effect, just telling them to screw off. The reality is he never would have gone for any of this. Any of the movies, any of the ideas, he never would have gone for it. He wrote very extensively about what he thought this was and was about. And what Jeff Bezos has done is he's found a way of circumventing certain things, buying off certain people, getting certain scholars to say certain things about their interpretations of his correspondence letters about what he would and would not accept. This man was he had a definitive opinion, and somebody with a lot of money has come along to sort of shade many of those opinions in order to be able to do this. Now, your original question was, why didn't he just buy this? Well, the Tolkien family, the Tolkien family, basically, I should say his kids, Christopher Tolkien especially, were very tough. Christopher Tolkien didn't even like a lot of what Peter Jackson did.
Yeah, I remember.
And Peter Jackson tried very hard to remain faithful. And some of the things that he did, you can understand from a certain point of view in trying to tell a story. Because if you were to try to really attempt to do this with those books, you couldn't really tell a very easy story because of how they're written.
Yeah,
And so,
especially the timeline, like
mhm,
you've got at the end of Two Towers, you've got in the book at the end, you've got basically the death of Frodo. You don't find out until the third book that Frodo is alive, that Shelob
mhm,
didn't kill Frodo. So you end Two Towers thinking that Frodo is dead,
yes,
but what's happening in that chapter isn't happening at the same time as the chapter before it. So the
mhm,
timeline is skewed. What's happening to Frodo and Sam in one chapter is different than what's happening at a different time. What's happening to, say, Gandalf and the Rohirrim in another chapter.
and now understand, this is from the correspondence between Tolkien and his publisher. These books were written for kids, so that should tell you how far off our education system now has gotten since then. You know, that story was initially tested on the son of the publisher, who had to write a report about what he thought. This is all included in all the material that they released for Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. So if you own that, especially the special editions with that incredible documentary that they put on there, this is all covered in that. And I'm pretty sure that Saul Zanet's company probably didn't like something about the deal with Amazon. And even they had standards, basically. And I'm thinking the fact that you have what they requested versus what was actually paid is basically probably what they thought about, Jeff Bezos and Amazon.
This is like unprecedented.
Yes.
Because they could have easily made their $2 billion asking price with Amazon. If they had gone through Amazon, they could have easily got $2 billion for it. They have taken almost like more than a step back, like a step and a half back, taking $770 million for it, when they could have probably got their $2 billion asking price from, if there's anything bigger than Star Wars, it's this. It's yes. Lord of the Rings.
But on top of that, you also have to understand the company that bought it, okay? These guys have been on a roll. They bought the biggest gaming company, not video gaming company on the planet. And Dark Horse. Both of those purchases were made this year.
Well, and also the Square Enix deal.
Yes.
Which Squaresoft basically gave them the IP rights to Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Legacy of Kain, all of these IPs that they could have got a lot more for. I think the final deal was like $200 million, and that's insanity. Just for Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider should have been double that.
I'm thinking that they probably negotiated some sort of a side deal with all of these particular entities who they bought out. Maybe offered them some stock in their business. Because as I've been telling Gary and others, I think they're aiming for something. You don't make those kinds of purchases in 1 year, plus on top of that, get $1 billion investment from Saudi Arabia on top of it. They didn't need the money, but they got $1 billion investment in their company. They are aiming for something big, real
they got
big.
Something big. They got something big with Lord of the Rings. Because
but I mean big. Nowadays, you don't make these kinds of moves. I mean, I'm trying to get everybody to think, what is the end game when you acquire all this stuff? Because they bought Dark Horse. All of Dark Horse Media. So why? The gaming, the video gaming companies, the Dark Horse, which gives them comics and media related properties, they're aiming for something. You don't drop that kind of money if you're not aiming for something. I have an idea of what I think it may be, but it's only speculation on my part. But there are certain things that out there that are available that the general public hasn't been paying attention to that could affect. If it goes the way that I'm thinking, it'll be the biggest bombshell since Zaslav started firing people when he took control of Warner Brothers. And it'll probably even be bigger than that when it's done.
Project Cambrian asks, IP monopoly or proper fan expectation stewardship?
I think it's going to be big enough to have them doing their own thing. Look, with what they've gathered up to this point, they could sit back and just watch all the checks roll in. But if that were the case, then really just save all your pennies, buy the Lord of the Rings and all of the Tolkien properties, and just do that. Why then would you buy all this other stuff if you were not aiming for something?
Sean asked that the Saudis are quietly buying into a bunch of entertainment companies.
Yeah, because a lot of companies, I mean, a lot of countries want a piece of the entertainment game. Look, Hollywood is still cranking it out, people. They're still making. Look, the success of Spider-Man alone shows you that despite everything we've been through these last few years, people are ready to go back to the theaters and they're ready to support what, good entertainment.
Oh yeah, look at Top Gun. Look at Top Gun.
And that's the reason why Paramount is making some of the moves they're making. Okay, they are giving hints, and if you've been listening to Doomcock, they're giving a lot of hints about where they want to go with Star Trek, and that future doesn't have Kurtzman in it. I mean, they are looking to probably get rid of him and stop the damage and the bleeding.
Well, where's this DC universe that JJ?
JJ's deal was, and this is something Zaslav learned, that $500 million deal was not the money up front. He was only paid money for anything he completes. So he's had a series of directives. And if you're Netflix right now and you're Neil Gaiman, while you're celebrating, I'm sure Neil Gaiman hates JJ right now, because one of the biggest complaints about his Sandman on Netflix is the character of Constantine or Constantine. The only reason why John Constantine's not in there is because of JJ. JJ did it because of the deals that he strikes. It's the same kind. This is where Alex Kurtzman learned how to do it. This is where Matt Reeves learned how to do it. Whenever you get a hold of a property, you make sure that in your contract, you demand that you have your own universe within that. JJ tried getting Paramount and CBS to stop selling all original Star Trek merchandise based around Kirk, Spock, and the crew, because he didn't want it interfering with the merchandise for his movie.
Yeah, and his movie merchandise was crap.
Yes, it was. Well, he puts that clause in all of his contracts. And he did the same thing with DC. He got them to, which is the reason why a lot of the people that made that deal no longer are employed by Zaslav. He got them to commit to anything he decides he wants to work on. All those characters will temporarily belong to JJ. And so he can stop them from, he can stop other people from using those characters in any other films. Thus, the Justice League Dark movie, of which John Constantine is a part of, he locked up the character of John Constantine because of that. And it's a movie now he's no longer going to make.
Chris Persia asked, say that again, Keith. JJF Constantine out of the DCEU, that son of a bitch.
He effed him out of the Sandman series that's on Netflix. That's the reason why you have a female Constantine.
Because of JJ.
Because of JJ.
Jeebus.
And Matt Reeves was still attempting to do the same thing with Batman. That's the reason why Robert Pattinson was never a part of the plan for him to team up with Henry Cavill. That was never going to happen because Matt Reeves himself didn't want it to happen. That entire universe is separated from anything else that comes along.
Why have we gone backwards like this?
Well,
This
no.
seems to me the most stupidest thing ever. It took us forever to get like Batman and Superman on screen at the same time. Yes, they exist in the same freaking universe.
Yes.
And then now they're separating everything again.
Well, no. This is what led to Zaslav coming in and starting to fire people. And the first person he fired was Ann Sarnoff, the woman who made several changes with the upcoming Game of Thrones spinoff series. She had the showrunners were two people that had worked on the original Game of Thrones. But hey, magically, these two guys are actually talented. They're fans. They understood what didn't work. So they were well on their way to fixing all of the problems that fans had the last go around. And then Aaron Soloff decided, hey, I got some ideas, and started changing things. Now, since technically these two guys answered to her because she was over HBO and HBO Max and all that stuff, she could actually get them to do this.
That's insane.
And that's the reason why Zaslav fired her day one. He didn't even give her a chance to try to work things out. She was gone.
So the Batman's dead. The Batman with Pattinson's dead.
No. There were a list of things that Zaslav wanted changed for the sequel. He wanted actual chemistry between your leads, which I agree with. There was no chemistry between those people. He wanted less darkness, less confusion. He wanted clear-cut, recognizable bad guys, but most of all, he informed Matt Reeves that unlike the last time around, your price tag for everything better be somewhere around 70 million. And not no 100 million anymore. That's if that film, if the Batman had been made for 70, it would have been really profitable. Instead, it was moderately profitable. Remember, marketing will cost you more than anything else because it costs more money to, especially around the world, to buy ads and ad time in different places. That's the reason why you've noticed that over the last 5 to 10 years, the amount of cost for marketing has gone up by a lot. And that's the other reason why Batgirl had to be shelved. Because everybody goes, well, it was only 90 million. Yeah, that part for making the film was 90 million. To market it, especially outside the United States, you were looking at least 100 to 125 million dollars.
Oh yeah,
on top of the 90. So yeah, shelve it. On top of other reasons, I don't know if you've seen the footage, the behind-the-scenes footage that was taken from when they were shooting.
It looks like dog shit.
Well, it points to something that I've been saying, which is that film was never meant to fit in what we considered the DCEU. Okay? When you hire the same actor to play Gordon that was hired to be in Zack Snyder's Justice League and you put him in Batgirl, that's fine. But they did to him what they did to him with the Spider-Man films. Remember, this same actor played J. Jonah Jameson.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And was amazing, absolutely amazing J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, but notice how long it took them to put him in the Tom Holland films. And when you saw him again He was a completely different version of J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, he's a J. Jonah Jameson that quit the Bugle. He has his own podcast. He's like a YouTuber, and that's them going with he's in the comics.
That's right, and he's bald. He's bald.
Yeah.
And they had to visually make him different. Well, guess what? They did the exact same thing with Batgirl. They changed James Gordon.
Why bring on the same actor if you could have different Gordon?
That's because the whole thing was meant to be changed. And that's because this is why the Flash was important to Walter Hamada and his plans for what eventually became known as the Hamadaverse. He was there to change it and also move forward. So this was the Flash was written to get rid of Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill. By the end of the Flash movie, those two were meant to be gone, and Batgirl and Supergirl, it's Flashpoint. And Batgirl and Supergirl were meant to replace them with Batman, played by Michael Keaton, coming in to be the mentor to Batgirl. Okay, now Gordon looks like the Gordon of the comics in that he's got longer red hair, a kind of reddish mustache, and he looks about 15 to almost 20 years younger than how he looked in Zack Snyder's Justice League.
That's crazy.
This is what I've been saying. Walter Hamada hated Snyder. Toby Emmerich and Ann Sarnoff really hated Snyder. They didn't want any of his stuff to go forward. And they were going to try to have a brand new version of the Justice League, which explains all of the changes that they had for what Joss Whedon put in. The big difference between Joss Whedon's version and Snyder's version is, if you notice, in Joss Whedon's version, you have Batman trying to basically have Wonder Woman be the leader of the team.
Yeah.
Well, that was the plan. That was Hamada's plan. That was the plan he was given. Change it up, get rid of Affleck and Cavill, and have a brand new Justice League with Wonder Woman at the head, with your new Trinity, which was to be Supergirl, Wonder Woman, and Batgirl, and assisted by Aquaman and the Flash.
Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
And that's the reason why I say, if you're really that stuck on Batgirl, it took about 4 or 5 years for us to be able to see Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm pretty sure Batgirl will be released. And by that time, you'll see what I've been saying. The movie doesn't fit at all. It's not going to fit anything of what the DC Studios universe is going to be like. I think people are now starting to call it the Zaslav-verse, because while they are bringing back Zack Snyder, what we're going to get is it'll be closer to what Zaslav wants, which is he wants to put all these characters together. He wants to bring in Zack Snyder's ideas and characters and mix it with what The Rock has, and then add in a few more characters. And it makes sense to me because, again, these geniuses that got fired, you had The Rock on your payroll and you made him wait.
Yeah, you fucked it up. You fucked it up. Yeah, he's been saying he wanted to do Black Adam since before we got a damn Shazam movie.
Yep.
And so you guys waited and dicked around this long to do it.
And again, none of this stuff that Hamada authorized. I was saying this last year. I told you the last time I was on. Beware of all these projects that Walter Hamada is greenlighting. It has nothing to do with doing anything other than to either save his job. And again, part of the reason why he's still at Warner Brothers is the fact that his contract ends when Black Adam comes out. If Black Adam is a huge success, if that film makes $1 billion, there is an off chance that Hamada could remain employed with Warner Brothers. but there's no chance that he'll be allowed to run DC Studios. That ship has long ago sailed, because Zaslav, part of the reason why I think he fired Toby was after when Zaslav took over. I'd say within inside of a month, Ezra Miller had been on the news again, and Zaslav went off, and he tracked Toby down and pretty much just asked a very simple question: why didn't you fire this guy? Why am I having to deal with this? Toby didn't have an answer, so Toby's gone.
It sounds like they don't have their shit together, which doesn't surprise me, because they shit together.
They didn't. They do now. Here's what you need to understand. No matter what was Zaslav, okay, it's going to take a few years to even start on the new stuff. You have a bunch of movies that were greenlit, and many of them started and or finished production under Walter Hamada, under the people who were screwing stuff up. Okay? Black Adam, Shazam 2, you have, of course, Flash, Aquaman 2, and even the Blue Beetle film. Those were all greenlit. Oh, and of course, Joker 2. Those were all greenlit under a bunch of people who were screwing up left and right and didn't want Henry Cavill or Ben Affleck back. The fact that Ben Affleck has been coming back and filming scenes that were originally for other people that now he's taken on those lines, that should tell you this is going exactly how Zaslav said he wanted it to, but it's going to take some time. We probably won't see any of the Zaslav authorized films meant to try to change and undo a lot of the bad stuff that was done until at least 2024, 2025. That's how long you've got to wait. And that's only because it was never going to be an overnight thing. It was never going to be instant. Okay? Film takes too long. You got to have it written. You got to cast it. You got to make it. And you got to make sure everything fits in with everybody's schedules. But the most insidious thing is all of these people, that many of whom are now gone, they technically did at least get part of what they wanted, because they screwed around so long. I mean, who just had a birthday just the other day? Ben Affleck, who just turned 50.
Yeah, he's not going to keep being Batman.
That's right.
Paramount didn't make this mistake. Didn't make any of these mistakes when they were doing the Marvel movies. When they started with Iron Man, this was all Paramount. Mm-hmm. A lot of people forget that. They think, "Oh, Disney." No, Disney didn't acquire Marvel till after the Marvel movies were already successful.
That's right.
Yep.
So what you have is a bunch of companies, mainly people at these companies, who are looking what Zaslav is doing, and they're sitting there going, "Yeah, he's right. We should be all about making money." You've got some of the board members at CBS, and of course, if you remember the television series Head of the Class, Brian Robbins, the kid in the leather jacket who sat at the back of the class,
yeah.
He was an executive at Nickelodeon for years. He now heads up Paramount. And he's the one that I hear is asking for things like an audit of all things related to Star Trek, all the way back to even when JJ had it. Because a lot of stuff has gone bad. People are not buying the merchandise. It's not going over the way that Alex Kurtzman said, things would go if you gave him charge of everything. So it's time. It's time for them to not only get rid of Kurtzman, they got to get rid of JJ. Because JJ is the one that's screwing up left, right, and center.
Yeah, it's bad reboot. It's bad reboot on everything. You see bad reboot.
Yeah.
It's
everything. See, Bad Robot has their fingers in Lucasfilm. They have their fingers in the new Lord of the Rings series because your showrunners got their training from that. They are Star Trek currently, and of course, wherever JJ is. So he's currently at Warner Brothers, and so you've got the Batman under Bad Reboot. And then you have JJ, and it seems like the only project he's in the middle of doing is the new Batman animated series.
No.
That's him.
No.
So he's already screwed up with even the movie cast that he had for the Kelvin universe, because the contracts all basically were not renewed in time. In order for there to be a Star Trek 4 using even that cast, none of those actors now want to take a pay cut.
Nope.
No,
they don't. They shouldn't.
No.
And so your starting cost before you even roll film will be somewhere around $270 million. So if you're Brian Robbins, who's running Paramount, and Star Trek being one of your crown jewels, you can't use it because JJ effed up and his boy Kurtzman's effing up, and you're stuck with nothing that you can do.
No, they just need to get rid of Bad Reboot. Get rid of Bad Reboot. It's
a cancer everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a cancer. Yeah. Anybody that is even related to them needs to go. Look, personally, the Batman was not a bad movie. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. It's just it had problems. And what got me was the fact that you got to remember, when they hired the director for this movie, the script that he had was Ben Affleck's script. And he made a big deal out of, we're about to begin production. I think I need to go off and do some writing.
Yeah,
I think I need to.
He did. Fuck yeah, he did. So, he said we threw that old script out and we started all over from scratch on our own.
So
yeah, he did.
It took them a year and a half. So he did it. He wrote this, and that's what he came up with in a year and a half.
He came up with, hello, it's me, Batman, let me in. I'm standing outside of your club. Let me in, I'm Batman. You see my name tag, it says, hello, my name is Batman.
The only thing I give him a little bit of a leeway on is Robert Pattinson. Robert Pattinson was the idea of Toby Emmerich and Walter Hamada and the executives at Warner Brothers who thought that having Robert Pattinson in that film would help bring in more women. Because the original choice for Batman was Nicholas Hoult, who was Beast in the more recent X-Men films.
Yeah, no. No, I'd go with no, I wouldn't go with him either. Shit.
So that's how screwed up everything is.
I wasn't going to go see the Batman, Sherry, but I got a free ticket, so I went. I shouldn't have even accepted the free ticket because it was a complete waste of. Hello, I'm Batman. Can I come in your club? Can I come in? Do I have to pay a cover, even though I have the cowl on? Do I have to pay a cover? I'm like, oh my god, dude, really? Do you know who I am? I'm Batman. Can you let me in, please? Guys, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you, Keith, for hopping in. Thank you, Dave Bob, for being here. Guys, you guys are absolutely the best. We will be back later tonight for the Late Show with Mexican Iron Man. Is there anything you guys want to throw out before we get out of here?
First of all, thank you for allowing me to come on and be honored,
always, brother,
and talk to this incredible viewership you have and just hang out with you guys for a little bit. So thank you. And as far as pushing anything, we got TGIF later on today. And of course, morning coffee with Gary every morning at 10 Central. So, and then our weekend show, if you get a chance, Saturday morning fun time.
Heck yeah. I love the morning coffee with Gary. I mean Jerry. I mean Gary. I heard him talking yesterday about the whole Tom and Jerry thing, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he's gonna do that.
He's gonna do it.
He's gonna do it. So no, I love you guys are you guys are my morning show. So I do my morning show here, and I hang out with everybody, and I love this show. But then at 10, you guys are like my. So I'll go and get a shower or whatever, and get ready for the day, and then I'll put you guys on, have a bowl of cereal, drink a cup of coffee, and that's my big wake up.
You know what? Thank you. That's an honor. Seriously, to know that you listen, that you enjoy it. I want to thank you and everyone else that likes to watch and listen. I'd like to say, being the Doc Severinsen of this morning show, because Fat Steven really is the Ed McMahon of the show.
Have your pet spayed or neutered. Oh my God.
No, I mean that with love, because I love Fat Steven. But no, it's to me, I'm lucky. I'm a very lucky guy that I get to hang around with everyone and get to hang out occasionally with incredible fans such as yourself and others. And it's just, I'm blessed. I am just blessed. So
I know how you feel, brother. I know exactly how you feel. Getting to hang out with all you guys, getting to do this show in the morning. Yes, it is an absolute blessing. I'm a blessed person. Guys, thank you so much for being here again. Be safe. Be excellent to each other. Always speak friend honor. And we will see you guys later tonight on The Late Show with Mexican Iron Man. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
These videos are tremendous. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.